Hey, what's up, guys? Purpose of Live Sports. Back here for some more NBA videos, more sports videos. Today, I just wanted to do a video on the NBA GOAT debate, which usually consists of two to three players, mainly Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And sometimes you mention Kobe, or some would say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I would say it does include Kobe, mostly because I was actually able to watch Kobe for a long time, and I got to see what he was able to do, especially LeBron James as well. I didn't get to see much of Michael Jordan. All you really get to see is, highlights of him and things of that nature. I have watched some NBA basketball movies with him in it, and you hear people talk about his greatness, what he was able to accomplish, and he is truly a great player in his own right. So, if I'm gonna do my own take, if I was to pick who I thought was the GOAT, this is definitely hard because when I analyze it, Michael Jordan 6-0 in the finals. Everybody usually points to rings. Rings to me are very important. He is also one thing that really matters to me. I don't know how many all defensive teams he's made, but I know he's a 9-time all defensive first team player, which I think is tied or either first all time. It's either tied or first all time. You could also say that for Kobe. Kobe's a 9-time all defensive player. He's also a 3-time second team all defensive player. In total, he's a 12-time all defensive player, which is, I think, neither top or all time. He was the guy who played tremendous defense. Also, Jordan was too. Jordan averaged 2.3 steals a game for his career. He was big on taking the ball away. He was Defensive Player of the Year, I think, in 88, 89. He's a 5-time NBA MVP, which is more than LeBron, far more than Kobe. So, LeBron, he got passed up in LeBron in points, but it did take LeBron longer to score more points than Jordan did. So, Jordan does have that on him. Assists. He averaged 5 or 6 assists a game. He averaged 5 or more rebounds a game, which LeBron averages. Okay, so Jordan averages 36 and 5 for his career. 30 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds for his career. LeBron averages 27 points, over 27 points, over 7 assists, over 7 rebounds, which is almost a triple-double for his career. Kobe averages 25 points, 4.5 assists, and over 5 rebounds for his career. So Kobe was also in that plane too as well. Jordan also was one of those guys who was, I think, a 10-time all-first team player in terms of offense. So, look, Jordan has a lot of these accomplishments that are excellent. If you want to go to LeBron, I think is maybe, I forget how many times he's been on the all-first team, but in terms of all NBA teams, he's probably got, I think, 14 in total. 14-time all NBA teamer type guy, because LeBron, he's just that incredible. He is a 6-time all-defensive team member. I think he has 1 second team and 5 first teams, because back then there was a consistent 6-year period where LeBron was actually a top 5 defender in the game of basketball. Period. That's what he was. LeBron, like I said, I already told you his career averages. He's not big on getting steals, but he's a guy who does make plays in critical games in big moments. I already told you he's a 4-time NBA MVP. He does not have a Defensive Player of the Year award, but he does have 3 championships. He's been to the finals 9 times to Jordan 6, which is very impressive. But he has lost 6, so that's big. He did have a stretch where he went to the playoffs 14 years in a row, so that's also an achievement in itself, for sure. If you go to Kobe, like I already said, he's a 1-time MVP. He's a 2-time scoring champ. LeBron is a 1-time scoring champ. I think Jordan has the all-time record I think he's a 10-time scoring champion for Jordan, which is incredible itself. LeBron, what else has he got? I think that's all you can really mention in terms of LeBron's accolades. Like I said, Kobe's a 2-time scoring champ, 5-time champion, been to the finals 7 times, which is 1 more than Jordan, 2 behind LeBron. 12-time All-Defensive Player. He's been on the All-NBA team over, I think, 12 times as well. Yeah, Jordan. Kobe's no slouch. These guys are really no slouches. I think it's hard to really compare because if you want to do that, you're kind of playing favorites. If I was to, here's my thing though. I'm big on competitors, and I think Jordan and Kobe are two of the most competitive players that we've ever had. And I think sometimes why people knock LeBron the most is because even though he really has all the numbers over Jordan, I think when you look at it, numbers don't really tell the whole story. Because what Jordan had is something that a lot of people talk about. He had that it factor. He was a competitor. He was a guy who wanted to take your heart out. He was a guy when the game really mattered. He was the guy who really wanted to make the play. He was the guy who wanted to make the play. Take the last shot, didn't matter. Make the defensive stop, guard the best player. Even though Pippen was also, I think they took a lot of times took turns. Because you had two guys who one guy could do in the first half, one guy could do in the second half. So people kind of want to do that to Jordan. But LeBron's had D. Wade and Chris Bosh. LeBron's had Kyrie and Kevin Love. LeBron's had Shaq, even though it was Shaq at the end of his career, which wasn't very helpful. I'm just going to be honest. Shaq wasn't very helpful at the end of his career to LeBron. So that's what it is. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Shaq because Shaq is one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant player in the league. But, hey. And I think we also do that to Kobe too. Kobe did have Shaq at the beginning of really in Shaq's prime. Kobe had him, which helped him win his first 3 rings. Then there was a stretch where Kobe went through a tough spell by himself. So LeBron's not the only player. Along with Jordan also went through tough spells by themselves. So you can go back to that too. People want to say LeBron has never really had consistent help. Well, all these guys have went through periods where they didn't have consistent help on their teams. And I think Kobe went through more of a significant stretch than LeBron ever did. And you could say, well, then that's a testament to how great LeBron is. Well, LeBron's always, to me, had a consistent type of play style or a consistent type of teammates around him where he always wants shooters and guys or some guys on the team who can defend as well and a serviceable big man. Kobe, during those times, I think it was from 05, 06 to it was a 2-year stretch where it was pretty bad for Kobe because he really didn't have anyone. Kobe was alone. He was still making the playoffs, I believe. But there were games he went on that 50-point scoring streak. He averaged 35.4 points a game. But a lot of it didn't really amount to anything. It didn't amount to great playoff success. So Kobe took a lot of bumps and bruises. And that's just kind of the sad part is that all these players are great, but they all went through something and they had to go through a lot of things to be great. And when you look at LeBron, he did have to go through things as well. I'm not going to discount LeBron. LeBron's not perfect, and but to me, LeBron has always he does seem to elevate his teammates better than Jordan or Kobe has, just because you see the success that he's had with the limited amount of help. But when LeBron has had help, you can say that it kind of levels the playing field a bit, where he did say he was going to win multiple upon multiple titles. But when he got to Miami, he only ended up winning 2. So that's a big letdown from what he said. He did have that Mavericks final series, which I watched, and it was bad, especially in the fourth quarters. And you see all the memes that have happened after him. It was a funny one where there's a funny meme I read somewhere. I actually watched it where it said, Bill Russell said, LeBron, if you give me $1, I'll give you some of my rings. And then LeBron said, but I only have 3 quarters. So that's a big one. But one thing I will say that I agree with is that a lot of times I have seen LeBron likes to kind of falter under pressure. Not falter, but he's not always his best self. Or he kind of makes it makes a play where it kind of confuse you, like, why did you make that play? He always wants to make the right play where it gets his teammates involved, instead of him being the driving force where he could basically get to the rim anytime he wants. He could dunk on anybody if he wanted to. He's a great mid-range shooter. even though he tends to not take as many outside shots. He's a great passer. But Kobe and Jordan, the reason why people say those two are mainly, besides Kareem and that type of nature of the GOATs, is because they just always wanted it. And I could tell that whenever Kobe played, he wanted it so bad. One thing I love Kobe for was that the year he tore his Achilles, look, Kobe was playing a lot of full games a lot of times in the second half of that year after the All-Star break, because his team was on the verge of not making the playoffs. And to Kobe, that's a no-no. That's a no-no. You could always see he was in playoff activation mode, which is why people knock LeBron again. You should never have to say, we're in playoff activation mode. It's activated. If you're that great of a player, then it should always be on. I could tell Jordan was never really in danger to me after Pippen came in, especially after he was there once the Detroit Pistons era ended. Then he really took over the league for sure. He asserted his dominance, and he made sure that for the next, ever since I think it was 90-91, basically that whole decade, it was the Bulls and then it was everybody else. There was a 2-year period with the Houston Rockets, who won from 93 to 95. And then it was the Spurs in 98-99. I think the Lakers finally went on that 3-year championship run in 99 to 02. But Jordan was dominant. And then after that transition, when Shaq left Kobe was dominant. And Kobe really was dominant for about 12 years. He was really that great. And even at the end of his prime, Kobe was still able to dominate games, playing full stretches. But his body broke down because Kobe just gave everything he had every single night. And one thing that I'm going to say that I hope doesn't rub people the wrong way, I'm always going to be a bigger fan of Kobe because when I watched him, I always saw him give everything he had. And I know LeBron hasn't always had consistent help. We're going to keep harping back to that because that's what people say. I will say this. We anoint LeBron to be so great, and a lot of times he doesn't have that great of help, right? But if he's so great and he doesn't always have that help, to me, some of that is a detriment to him not being able to adapt to acquire better players and to sacrifice himself. I've always had a problem with LeBron about that. And to me, all these LeBron stans or people who are big fans of him always want to say he's the GOAT. LeBron could have done a lot more to me, or had a lot more championships, had he had been able to adjust. And I think we saw Kobe do that when he won rings. To me, those last 2 that he won, to me, he adjusted and he became a better team leader. That's just how I feel. I think LeBron is a good team leader. I think he's a good team leader. I think for Jordan and Kobe, they led by example. LeBron does that too, but they led by example to an extraordinary level, which is why they've won five or more. LeBron, to me, his successes, it's all great. He could end up being the GOAT, but I don't really care who the GOAT really is. But in my opinion, to me, I would say probably Jordan is above Kobe by a little bit, just because of maybe the rings, but the dominance that the numbers say Jordan. A lot of other things say Jordan, but I can't anoint LeBron over Kobe for this reason. It's because LeBron could have done a lot more. And when you don't adjust, to me, you create a problem for yourself. And one person that I'm really pointing this at, if you guys really want to know, I don't know if people know Nick Wright. He's a FS1 Fox Sports analyst, and he has his own show. First things first, it comes on really early in the morning. But he's a huge LeBron fan. He says LeBron's been the GOAT ever since he beat the Warriors. I don't think so. I think that was actually, to me, that's a fluke. But I have a reason to why I think it's a fluke. And I think if that team ran it back and Draymond was suspended for Game 5, Golden State wouldn't have brought Kevin Durant on. But that's just me. But back to LeBron. There's so many other things. He fails to adjust. If LeBron was that great this year, then injuries aside, you would have found a way. To me, you would have found a way. You wouldn't have said playoff activation mode is activated, and he would have found a way to better lead the team. I didn't like the way this year went for LeBron. I was really sad, But then again, a lot of good things came out of it, and you see his team this year. And I hope it really all goes well. But for as great as a player as he is, to me, his biggest problem is his ego and his unwillingness to adjust when the time calls. So a guy like Damian Jones, a guy who's coached him and played with him, who says LeBron's a GOAT, I don't agree with you. And Nick Wright, I don't agree with you. I don't really care about this GOAT conversation because to me it's kind of, it's crazy, but, that's my take on it. Yeah. That's going to do it for me, guys. But thank you guys so much for listening. That was my take on the GOAT conversation. And talk to you guys about next video.